Okay, well, we do not have further questions about the campaign disclosure, at least not at this time. We'll go ahead and have Dave Coop come down here and discuss some of the services we're able to provide to our candidates.
Good afternoon. Boy, those forms are something else, aren't they? And since you're all still here in the room, I'm assuming that it didn't scare you off. Actually, the forms are not as complicated as it sounds, and the staff will definitely help you and guide you if you need it. Now we're going to shift our focus to something a little bit more fun. That's your campaign. Actually getting out there and meeting the voters, and how our office can help you do that. First of all, you need to find out exactly who your voters are. Just because you live in the district doesn't mean that you know where those boundaries are. Who knows, maybe the boundary runs right down the center of the street that you live on. So your neighbor across the street, even though he said, oh sure, I'll help you get elected, may not be able to vote for you because he's in the other district. So how do you find that out? You come to our office, you can get lists, you can get files, you can get maps. One of the first lists that most people get, and it was referred to many times here, is a precinct index. That's also known as a walking list. And it's a very handy tool. There's actually a sample in your handout. It's attached to the sheet that has the flag up in the corner that lists all of our products and what the costs are. The walk list is organized by precinct first, then by street name alphabetically. So in this example that we have up here, Auburn Folsom Road really isn't next to Brentwood, so you can't walk from those two addresses on Auburn Folsom Road to all of those addresses on Brentwood because it's alphabetical. But when you choose to go to a neighborhood, you can go to your walk list and see who on that particular street that you're on, who's registered to vote. There's no point in wasting your time, and your time is really valuable when it comes to walking. No point in wasting your time going all the way up to a door of a house that nobody's registered to vote. Now, if you have plenty of time, then maybe you want to take a registration card to those addresses that are not on the list and offer to register them to vote. You can get a packet of registration cards from our office. We can actually record the registration numbers, the serial numbers of those registration cards, and actually track to see if any of those voters actually did fill out that registration card and send it in. But assuming that you don't have time to go to the houses that don't have voters, this is a good tool. A walking list, any printed list, let me clarify that. Any printed list is $5 per 5,000 names. You can't get a name list any cheaper than that. If anybody's owned a business that you had to buy a name list, this is pretty cheap. One of the other ways that some campaigns will get their data is through electronic files, data files. Those run pretty much the same cost, except for the vote by mail voters. I have to really concentrate on not saying absentee voters because they've changed the terminology on us. We're no longer absentee voters, we're vote by mail. And there's 3 different categories of vote by mail voters. The permanent vote by mail voters is those of us who have checked that box that says, every election, I want you to send me a ballot in the mail. We're permanent vote by mail voters. We will automatically get that ballot sometime after the 29th day before the election. That's the first day that we can legally send out the ballot. The other mail ballot voters are those voters who are not permanent absentee vote by, oh, I take it back. Mail ballot voters are those voters who do not have a polling place to go to. Maybe their precinct is up here in God's country where there's not quite enough people to set up a polling place. So they automatically get a vote by mail ballot. The third category is those people who are not in the first two categories, and when they get their sample ballot, on the back of their sample ballot is an application for a ballot by mail, and they send those in. We can identify all three of those category of voters. And all three categories of those voters generally make up about 50% of the total voters in Placer County. So you can kind of assume that it's about 50% of your district that you're running for. To get that data, it's more like a subscription. You have to actually fill out a form. Oh, I'll come back to that slide. And set up an account for that absentee data or the vote by mail data. And then, because the subscription is $35 for the first report, regardless of whether it's a very small district or a very large district, it's a flat $35 for the first report. And that first report will give you, let me get back to that, all of the permanent vote by mail voters, all of the mail ballot voters, because those people are already identified on the file as to their status. So you get a very large report in the beginning. Then if you want subsequent reports, an update to that to include those voters who send in their applications for a vote by mail, then it's $10 for each update to that report. You can decide when you want that report. It can be daily, it can be weekly, it can be twice a week, whatever you decide, because it has a cumulative effect. You can wait until the end of the week. It depends on how many people you have in your campaign, whether you're going to be mailing to these people, whether you're going to be calling those people. It depends on you, your budget, your time. But you have to set up that account ahead of time, and then we can draw from that account. And the term chasing voters, you don't actually chase those absentee voters. Your mail piece or your phone calls are chasing those voters. Let's see. The other thing that I wanted to try and get across to you is timelines. I referred to E29 as the first day that we can mail out ballots. But in order for your mail piece to get into that mailbox about the same time as the ballot, you have to really think ahead. Get that mail piece ready, or get the account set up with a mailing house. There's some very excellent mailing houses in Placer County. There's two that I know of up here in Auburn that have worked with our data files before. They know how to do it. But you need to get it ready before. You can't wait until the ballot's ready to be mailed out to then decide to do something. You need to get it ahead of time. And I think all of those milestone dates are in your handout.